With that down and out of the way, let's move on to our third main topic today. And our third main topic today gets sent in to us by Ben Berkowitz, who writes, I saw in The Hollywood Reporter, Don't Breathe is finally getting a sequel entitled Don't Breathe Again, which I'm not sure how I feel about that title, but whatever. As per the report, Sam Raimi will still produce. Slang, that's Stephen Lang, who is fantastic, is expected to return, but Fede Alvarez isn't directing. His longtime collaborator, Rodo Sayagues, I'm positive I'm mispronouncing Rodo's name, will be directing instead. While I'm excited, is it too late for this? Thanks, and bring on the filthy. All right, thanks for sending that in, man. And listen, Don't Breathe. A couple of years ago, it stuttered the last year or two, but a couple of years ago, we had a couple of years in a row where horror films, particularly smaller budget horror films, were really making an impact at the box office. And one of those films that was a part of that surge was Don't Breathe, starring Stephen Lang, which I absolutely love that movie. Love that movie. And it did fairly well at the box office for a movie of its size. And so a lot of us have been wondering for a long time, where the hell is the new one? Why haven't they made a new one? Where's this new one? And it's funny because just a couple of weeks ago, I believe a live viewer wrote in and said, hey, are we going to get this thing? And I said, I think we still are. But I mean, the longer we go, it becomes more and more doubtful. But now apparently here we are. It is coming. Now, this comes to us from The Hollywood Reporter. Don't Breathe filmmaker Fede Alvarez didn't have to look far to find a director for a sequel to the surprise hit. Rodo Sayagues, again, I'm sure I'm butchering his name, Alvarez's frequent collaborator and co-writer of the 2016 flick, has been tapped to helm the project. Stephen Lang is set to reprise his role of the deadly lone wolf known as Blind Man. Breathe 2 is set several years after the home invasion of the first movie, with the blind man living in quiet solace. Until his past sins catch up to him, Rodo wrote the script with Alvarez. Production, is due to begin in April. So not only is this thing happening, not only is this thing coming, but it starts shooting soon in just a couple of months. Now, I have a couple of feelings about this. On the one hand, as we should be, I'm always a little bit nervous about first-time directors. I'm always a little bit nervous about that. But the thing is, a film like this, a film like Don't Breathe, is exactly the kind of film a first-time director should be working on. It's a smaller film. It's not a $150 million blockbuster. And it's somebody who's close to home, somebody who wrote this film and wrote the last film and worked closely with Fede Alvarez. So, I mean, this is exactly the kind of movie you want to see a first-time feature filmmaker making their debut with. Smaller, a more modest budget. Doesn't have to be a $1 million film, but a modest budget film. A little bit smaller in scale, not a massive tentpole film or anything like that. This is the type of film you want. So I'm totally comfortable with that. You're going to have Fede Alvarez as one of the writers and a producer on it. Cool. You got Sam Raimi still there producing it. Cool. And you got the guy directing it who wrote the last one and wrote this one. So I'm totally comfortable with that. Large picture, though, I'm just thrilled they're finally getting around to giving us this movie. Because, again, the question you ask, though, is it too late? Is it too late to do this one? I don't think so at all. Listen, in an era, we were just talking about Bad Boys. When the last Bad Boys movie come out? 16 years ago? 16 years ago? Almost 17 years ago? Listen, this one came out just a couple years ago. It's not too late. Would it have been better if they got the wheels in motion on this thing a little bit sooner? Yeah, I think so. But here's the thing. Oftentimes when we hear about a movie getting announced, we're still 6 months, 8 months, a year and a half away from that movie actually shooting. Quite often we hear such and such movie is going to happen. Great. And then it's not for another year or year and a half till it actually goes into motion. Well, they're going to start shooting this thing in April. So imagine us having heard about this and getting the official word on it 6 months ago. Again, is it a little late? Yeah, a little late. It would have been better if this was a little bit earlier. But honestly, it's not too late. As long as you make this thing great, as long as you make it solid, just like the last one was, you keep the budget under control, this can be another very profitable film for them. And I just got to tell you, as a fan of Stephen Lang, as a big fan of that first film, I am thrilled that they're going back to this. Question is, guys, how do you feel about them returning to the world of Don't Breathe with Stephen Lang? I am obviously tickled about it. Maybe you didn't like the first one. Maybe you don't care. Maybe you do feel it's too late. Maybe you're as excited as I am. Jump down to the comments section below and let me know your thoughts. All right.